When you're so used to overexerting yourself every time somebody hurts you, and you just one time you say, I'm just not going to do anything. I'm just going to let them sit with what they did. You will be uncomfortable for the first minute, hour, day, week, however long it is. And then it's like the truth settles in, and you know that you never had to explain to them that what they did, they knew it all along. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Beyond Words with me, Najwa Zebian. I've always been a firm believer in the power of words to heal what they didn't break and to break what they had no right in breaking. This episode is kind of a follow-up to two previous episodes we've done where I just found like these episodes really hit home for you guys. The first episode is how to make them realize they're losing you, and the second one is how to no longer want the love of someone who doesn't want you. Because I think the theme that brings both of those together is, how do you just let people be who they want to be? And how do you just let people do what they want to do? How do you just let go of your need for control? And how do you just stop trying to make them change, or to make them see you differently, or to make them value you differently? Sometimes we stop ourselves from seeing people the way that they're showing us they are because we don't want to see the truth. We want to continue painting them with the same paintbrush of kindness and loveliness that we always used on them before. We'd rather see them as good people who made one mistake or two mistakes or a few mistakes, or we'd rather see them as an imperfect human than see them as somebody who is actively hurting us, as somebody who is actively and intentionally trying to bring us down. We don't want to see that truth. So instead of just letting them be, we try to make things be the way that we want them to be. So, no, you're not lying to me because you're trying to hurt me. You're lying to me because you're so afraid of what the truth will do to me. Like, we give excuses to them like that. You're not being inconsiderate of me because you don't think that I deserve your consideration. You're being inconsiderate of me because you have too much on your plate and you just accidentally missed thinking of me. We give them excuses like that. But what happens when the inconsideration goes from an accidental one time to an accidental two times to an accidental three times to it happens every single time, with the exception of a time here and there that keeps me hooked a little bit and keeps me seeing the version of you that could be amazing and considerate? What happens when the dishonesty goes from being a one-time thing in a sea of truths and in a sea of being open and transparent to 2 lies and 3 lies and 4 lies and 100 lies? And I'm tempted to see the pattern, and my soul tells me this is really wrong and I don't deserve it and you're doing it on purpose. But if I allow myself to see you as a liar, what does it tell me about myself that I'm not walking away from you? So I would rather continue to isolate each lie and not tie it to who you are as a person. I'm giving you these examples because I want to let you know that the reason that you don't just let people be who they are isn't because something's wrong with you. It's because you're trying to protect yourself from the pain of seeing them for the truth of who they are. Because when you see them for the truth of who they are, you have to make a decision to walk away, or you have to make a decision to set a boundary, or you have to make a decision to say never again. I'm not okay with that. And what comes with that? Consequences. They might walk away, and you might think, maybe if I was a little more patient, they would have stayed. Maybe if I was a little more understanding, they would have stayed. Maybe if I was a little more nonchalant, they would have stayed. But sometimes with decisions that you absolutely have to make in your life, there will be harsh endings and harsh consequences. There will be things happening that you don't want to happen. There will be things that scare you, like people walking away, like people lashing out on you and saying, who do you think you are to speak up for yourself? You've never spoken up for yourself before. And you end up feeling so guilty because, yeah, you don't really speak up for yourself. But here's what you need to remember. People who care about you, people who belong in your life, whether it's a romantic relationship or a work relationship, whether it's with your family or with your friends, people who care about you and who deserve a place in your life will not put you in a position where speaking up for yourself feels like it's coming from the depths of your soul, like a scream in their face that says, stop doing that to me, you're hurting me. People who care about you don't intentionally hurt you. People who care about you, when they do hurt you, they apologize. And they know, they don't wait for you to come to them and say, this thing really deeply hurt me. You know this from yourself. And I'm telling you from my own personal experience. I have people in my life who, when they do something and they just sense there's that look on my face that I'm feeling a little bit down as a result, they will tell me, you know, I felt like that thing I said earlier maybe made you feel a certain way, and I just want you to know I didn't mean it that way, but I'm really sorry. There are people like that out there, and that's what you deserve. And I'm telling you, if you know that the people you're currently thinking about are intentionally hurting you, you're probably right. Because knowing the core of who you are, like you're listening to this podcast, I know what type of person you are. You probably thought about this 1,000 times at least before you could say, no, you're actually intentionally doing this. Like, I brought this up more than once. I've told you stories from my life that tell you that this kind of behavior really hurts me, but you're doing it anyway. Some people want to act like high school bullies in your life. And what you need to remind yourself is that you're no longer sitting at the table that has the bullies. You have the ability to say, I'm sitting at the table with adults who are considerate of other people's feelings, who are well educated about life and about feelings and about hurting others, that they know better than to be bullies, that they know better than to enjoy watching someone squirm because of the pain that they're putting them through. Sometimes you have people in your life who are older and should be wiser and have so much more life experience, and you think because they're older, they should know better. But that's not always the truth. Age is just a number. You know how we say time heals? I've had an issue with that because sometimes you have 20 years after something bad happened to you and you haven't healed from it. Why? Because what did you do during that time to heal from it? And I'm not saying it from a place of judgment. Saying something like time heals is the same as saying the older you are, the wiser you should be. Right? These are things that they make sense on the surface, but when you go deeply into them, it's like you are aging not by choice, but you do become wiser by choice. Are you actually learning? Are you actually reflecting? Are you actually becoming a better person? Or were you stuck at a certain age and never went past that developmental stage of thinking and seeing the world and trying to be more empathetic towards others and trying to fix the parts of you that maybe need fixing? I'll give you an example. I've worked with so many people who struggle with the part of them that sees other people succeed and tells the person who's witnessing this, see, everybody's further ahead of you in life and you need to be doing more and you're not doing enough. And some people get jealous of seeing other people's success, or in any area of their life. It could be their career or their personal life. There's always parts of us that we need to work on. If there's a part of you that's jealous of other people having things or reaching places in life that you believe that you need in your life, it's so important that you sit with yourself and acknowledge that. Acknowledge that, you know what? I have this feeling of jealousy. I have this envy come up, and there's a part of me that sometimes just wants to see them fail or fall. When you recognize that, you're not bringing it into existence and saying, oh, I'm okay with this part of me. That's not what you're doing. What you're doing is saying, I know it's my nature to instantly compare myself to other people. So when I see somebody else get something that I really want, I'm going to actively practice celebrating them. Like, you can change parts of yourself like that. Some people will keep growing in age, but stay at the place where they see someone else succeed and they say, you don't deserve that. Who do you think you are? High school bullies. Like, this is the mentality. We're stuck in a place where we don't have the emotional maturity, or we don't have the introspection, or we don't have the part of us that tells us, you know what, this is not about you right now. This is about somebody else, and somebody else's happiness doesn't take away from yours. Somebody else's success doesn't take away from yours. Somebody else's great things in their life doesn't take away from the greatness in your life or what you could achieve in your life. There are people who are stuck in really immature ways of dealing with life, not because they haven't had the opportunity to grow out of them, but because they've made the active decision that they are content with who they are. They are content with the way that they handle things. They are content with the way that they perceive the world and react to it. And you know what makes it really easy for them to continue being that way? Surrounding themselves with the same people. Every time I'm with a friend of mine or with somebody that I'm having a conversation with and we agree on something, I will say, great minds think alike. I've always used it. I've always heard people use it, but I recently found out that that's not the entire quote. And you probably didn't know this. Great minds think alike, but fools seldom differ. So think of this example that I just gave you. People who surround themselves with people who think at the same low or immature or uneducated level, and I don't mean uneducated as in you don't have university degrees or a college. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about life education. I'm talking about taking the time to become more aware and more conscious and more empathetic towards others and more compassionate. That's what I mean. People who surround themselves with people who are at really low levels of awareness and maturity and a willingness to change and to see other people's perspectives, and people who are resilient in a way, who go through life's tribulations and they want to get out of it. They don't want to just sulk and stay where they are and stay in the victim mentality. When you surround yourself with people who are at those levels of I'm just going to stay where I am. I don't want to grow. I don't want to evolve. I don't want to become better. The reason that they feel so validated in being that way is because they stick together. They validate each other. They become so uncomfortable when somebody walks in and challenges those ways of being and challenges those ways of thinking. They find it really difficult to sit with somebody who's talking about maybe a different perspective that's more empathetic, that's not so rigid, that's not so judgmental. You become the bad guy. And I have a hard time saying great minds and small minds, and I don't like diminishing people, but sometimes we need to use words like that to show the contrast. We need to show the comparison. Don't blame yourself when you are put around a group of people who has decided that we are going to be stuck at this immature level. We're always going to be seeing things in this way. We're always going to be jealous when we see somebody do better. We're always going to, every time we see somebody do something great in their life, we're going to point to all the negative things about their life so that we don't have to feel like we could be doing better. When you are around people like that, you will feel excluded. And let me tell you, sometimes the exclusion is your biggest sign that you're doing something right. If you are somebody who believes in becoming a better person and working on yourself and being of service to the world around you, and you're put in an environment that's selfish, that's self-centered, that's judgmental, that says, I don't need to change anything about myself, you will be excluded. And that's a great thing. You never want to be included in an environment like that. All that is to say, if you have people around you who are, for lack of a better way of describing it, small-minded, immature-minded, jealous-minded, self-centered minded, thinking about the little insignificant things in life minded, or distraction minded, how do I keep myself out of being immersed and present in life? How do I run away from life? I know there's a part of you that wants to change them, and there's a part of you that wants to see the ray of light inside of them and say, I know you can be better, and I believe in you, and I want you to grow and evolve and flourish, and I want you to see the way that I think of things, and I want you to see my perspectives, and I want you to be able to look at other people in a different way. As tempting as it is to do that, sometimes you have to let people be who they want to be. Sometimes you have to let people be who they've chosen to be a really long time ago. And you have to stop taking it personally that they don't take your input. You have to stop taking it personally that they're not changing for you. They know that the way you see the world would be a much more beautiful way for them to see the world. They just don't want to see it the same way. And that's okay. It will hurt you because it challenges your belief and your value system that says being a better person is the goal. Whereas they're saying, I'm fine where I am. I know I stopped changing the way I think when I was really, really young. And I know that I've stopped trying to evolve and learn about the world and learn about people when I was really young, and I'm comfortable with that. I don't want to have to change. It's their choice to surround themselves with whoever they want to surround themselves with. But don't take their inability to be like you and to think like you and to welcome your opinions and to welcome your ways of seeing the world as an indication that something must be wrong with you, or as an invitation to try to help them even more, or believe in them even more, or be even more patient with them. I've said this in a previous episode and I'll remind you of it. You've heard this a million times. Tell me who your friends are. And this is not just about friends. It's about who you surround yourself with. But that's how the saying goes. Tell me who your friends are and I will tell you who you are. Tell me who you surround yourself with and I will tell you who you are. If you surround yourself with people who constantly need you to see the best in them for you to even coexist in the same space, that's only exhausting for you. And what it says about you isn't that you're a bad person or that something is wrong with you. All it says is that you are somebody who tries to lift people up to wherever you are. But when people don't want to be lifted, you're extending your arm to them and you're trying to pull them towards you. All they are in your life is a dead weight. If I see somebody drowning and I extend my arm to them and try to help them out, they have to be willing to also put in some effort to A, hold my hand, and B, try to push with all their might to get out. But when they don't do that, I can't carry that entire weight myself. You can't carry that entire weight yourself. Sometimes you have to let people choose for themselves and say, I will leave you where you are with your choice. I just don't want to be there anymore. And it's hard. It's hard when somebody hurts you in a way where you want to say to them, what you did really hurt and I wish you never did it. It's hard to keep those words inside of you and say, I've said this through my actions and through my behavior and through everything that I've done for this person so many times, I'm not going to say it anymore. But once you do it, the peace that comes with it is unmatchable. Because in that moment, you'll realize that you didn't have to say anything to them in response to the pain that they inflicted upon you, but you know that they know that they knew what they were doing when they hurt you. It becomes clear even in your silence. And it's going to shock them that you used to react with overt sensitivity and with trying harder to please them. And there's a word called fawning, by the way, and I always thought everybody knew what this word means. But if this is your first time hearing it, fawning is a trauma response where when somebody hurts you, instead of you taking that action, that behavior as an indication to say, you no longer get access to me in the way that you did before. I'm not going to be the same kind, loving, overexerting person that I was before. You take it as an invitation to try harder. So fawning is like people pleasing, but it's one step further because it's in response to somebody mistreating you, or it's in response to somebody not treating you at the level that you know you deserve to be treated, like with that basic human dignity level, the basic human respect. You try harder instead of saying, hey, that wasn't okay. I'm no longer going to be great to you. By the way, another trauma response is to be completely shut down, to freeze. We can do a whole episode on trauma responses, but I wanted to bring up fawning because we tend to respond to people, especially if we're empaths, especially if we are so used to being the kind, nice, loving one. When somebody mistreats us, we tend to treat them even better because we want to show them that you don't have to be that way, you know? Or we want to show them like your bad behavior didn't change me as a person. But that's not what you're doing when you're fawning. It's not what you're doing when you're people pleasing. What you're doing is you're betraying yourself. Because the healthy thing to do when someone mistreats you is to see it for what it is and say, I'm not okay with that. and validate the parts of you that were hurt. The healthy thing to do when someone lies to you isn't to say, I'm going to overlook this lie and I'm just going to be overly honest with you about how this made me feel so that you could understand how your lie hurt me. The healthy way to respond is to say, I'm not okay with people lying to me. And you're going to have to rebuild, if you want to stay in my life, the trust that you just broke. The healthy way to respond to somebody gaslighting you, for example, isn't to contemplate whether the lie that they're throwing in your way, the lie that says you're the problem, the way you're seeing reality is the problem. It's not to contemplate that and say, maybe they're right. The healthy way to respond to gaslighting is to see it for what it is and say, this person is really trying to mess with my sanity, and I'm not okay with that. So when you recognize the parts of you that respond to people's behavior in an unhealthy way, you can start changing the way that you respond, and it will be so uncomfortable. But the hardest time is the first time, when you're so used to overexerting yourself every time somebody hurts you, and you just one time you say, I'm just not going to do anything. I'm just going to let them sit with what they did. You will be uncomfortable for the first minute, hour, day, week, however long it is. And then it's like the truth settles in, and you know that you never had to explain to them that what they did was wrong. They knew it all along. And then there's parts of you that start coming up that say, wait a minute, none of the times in the past that we explained to them were necessary, because they also knew what they were doing in the past. And the issue is that from the beginning, when they started showing you their true colors, you didn't just accept them for who they are. You tried to paint them with your paintbrush that's kind and respectful and loving and honest and caring. So this is your invitation to put down your paintbrush and let people reveal their colors to you, whatever those colors are. And when you see those colors, don't try to change them. Don't put your rose-colored glasses on and try to see different colors. See them for who they are. Just like they walked into your life and spent as much time as they did with you, they can walk away, or you can walk away, and other people will walk into your life, and you will have many more colors to see and experiences to create and moments and memories to live through. But don't get stuck trying so hard to change a person's painting, who they are, their being. If they're a person who's deceitful, it's not on you to change. If they're a person who likes to watch people suffer, that's not on you to change. You are not people's therapist. You have to be willing to accept them for who they are so that you can make the right decisions for yourself. Who do I want in my life and who do I not want in my life? And that way you can be selective with the people who you give access to your time, to your energy, to your love, to your care. Because I remember there's this one quote that I used to always go back to that says, givers need to know when to stop giving because takers rarely know when to stop taking. You are love, you are kindness, you are honesty, you are respect, you are greatness. And wherever you are, the people around you are going to be getting those things from you, regardless of whether they deserve them or not. So stop putting yourself in places that are depleting all of those things from you and taking them away from you and from the people who deserve to take those things from you. And the only way to do it is to allow people to be whoever the hell they want to be. If they want to hurt you, let them hurt you, and you decide what you're going to do about that. If they want to lie to you, let them lie to you, and you get to decide what you're going to do with that knowledge. If they decide to backstab you, to belittle you, to talk badly about you behind your back, and to try to tarnish your image, let them do all of that, and you decide what you're going to do with that knowledge. But don't let your decision be, I'm going to change you. I'm going to show you that there's a better way. Don't do that. Don't be like, this is going to sound funny, but don't be like a Jehovah's Witness on people's doors saying, hey, there's a better way. Let me show you. Don't do that. You are not life's messenger for people who've decided that they want to be liars and manipulators and jealous people and people who just bring everybody down. You are not life's messenger to change them. If they don't want to change, let them be who they want to be, and you continue being who you want to be. I was having a conversation with my sister, and it was about this story. A scorpion wants to cross a river but can't swim, so it asks a frog to carry it across. The frog hesitates, afraid that the scorpion might sting it, but the scorpion promises not to, pointing out that it would drown if it killed the frog in the middle of the river. The frog considers this argument sensible and agrees to transport the scorpion. Midway across the river, the scorpion stings the frog anyway, dooming them both. The dying frog asks the scorpion why it stung despite knowing the consequence, to which the scorpion replies, I am sorry, but I couldn't help myself. It's my character, right? So the people in your life who lie to you constantly and manipulate you constantly, and you believe in them again when they say they're not going to do it again, and then they do it again, and you say, how could you do that? You said you weren't going to do it again, and they say, that's just who I am, right? But the part of the story that my sister and I were talking about was we focus so much on the scorpions that we forget to talk about our own character. And we usually stop ourselves from being givers and from being people who believe that others can change in response to the scorpions that we've experienced in our lives. But just like a scorpion says, I'm gonna sting you because it's my character, you can also say, I'm going to continue being a giver because that's my character. You're not going to change me. I'm just not going to give you access to me anymore. Don't let the people in your life who constantly betray and constantly make digs at you and constantly try to bring you down turn you into a cold person who doesn't trust people. Be trustworthy because that's your character. That's who you are. Be somebody who's trusting of others because that's who you are. You believe in people, just not them anymore. Don't change who you are in response to who somebody else showed you they were. I know sometimes I feel like I'm jumping from one place to the next, but it's just how my mind works. This is why I wrote The Nectar of Pain. The reason I created that title is to say, don't let your pain turn you into a cold-hearted person. Squeeze nectar and sweetness and kindness from that pain and let it make you an even more beautiful person, an even more kind and loving person. Don't let somebody's betrayal turn you into someone who never trusts people, and don't let somebody's taking advantage of you turn you into somebody who never gives others out of fear that you will be taken advantage of again. Don't do that to yourself. Stay who you are because that is your character. Just learn when to revoke people's access to the character that you have. And that doesn't make you a bad person, and it doesn't make you a hypocrite. It just tells these people, I gave you my kindness long enough until you drew and crossed that red line of disrespecting me. I gave you my love and my belief and my unconditional welcome until you chose to cross in a very hurtful way, the red line of using all of that to hurt me even more. You're not a hypocrite for being giving with some people and not with others. You are just somebody who knows how to protect your soul. I wrote a post and shared it on Instagram last night, and it's been really popular. So these are my words from me to you. And I apologize ahead of time for swearing, but you know, it can be therapeutic, I think. And also when you evolve into a person who doesn't worry so much about how you're perceived by everyone and doesn't worry about maintaining like a certain image and there's nothing that could change it in the eyes of people, that's a different level of growth. And I believe that I reached that level of growth not out of rebellion. It's not out of trying to prove something to anyone. It's out of, I put myself first and I put my opinion of myself first. And I hope that inspires you to do the same. So last night I wrote a post that's titled, "Let Them Fuck Around and Find Out." And this is the exact same way I felt as I was writing it. It wasn't out of anger. It wasn't out of pettiness. It came from a place of thinking of all the people in my life who I worried so much about trying to prove to them that I deserved better, or trying to prove to them that it doesn't matter how much you hurt me, I'm always going to believe in you and I'm always going to forgive you and I'm always going to make excuses for you. And I thought about the moments when something from within me, maybe it's the phoenix that I talk about in Sparks of Phoenix, just there was a fire that was lit inside of me that said, no more. No, I'm not accepting that anymore. I thought about all the moments in my life when that fire was lit inside of me that said, no more. We're not blindly believing in people anymore who've constantly hurt us. Maybe I'm reflecting on the time when I wrote Sparks of Phoenix and how, to me, the burning to ashes because of all the terrible things that people put me through just got me to a point where it couldn't be any worse. And my fear of speaking up for myself faded away because I had literally nothing to lose, because I lost myself. I reflected on all those moments in my life, and that's where this came from. And it came from a place of strength and inner knowing. It came from a place of, I want to tell you about a moment I had in therapy 2 or 3 years ago where I was asking my therapist, like, what is it that all of a sudden it's like a click inside of me that says all this fear I've had of speaking up for myself, it's just gone in this moment, and I see no other option than to speak up for myself. Whereas in other moments, I would be terrified of doing it. Like, what is it that in certain moments wakes up from inside of me and says, you are going to be 1000% your authentic self? And my therapist said, it's 2 things. It's your inner wisdom that knows who you are, and that knows it's a collective wisdom that you've gathered from all your ancestors and all the people who have merged in some way to create you as the exact same person that you currently are, and your integrity. Your irrevocable need to be who you are and to show the world that you are who you say you are. It's the core of who you are that's being spilled into existence. That's where these words came from. And I believe I talk about integrity in episode 15. Some people mistaken your weakness. Some people mistake your softness for weakness, your naivete for stupidity, your patience for permission, your silence for surrender. They think that they can hurt you and get away with it. They think your heart is a revolving door, that they can jab at it and it'll still open for them. They think no matter what they do, you'll excuse them because you're kind and that's what you always do. But every wound they inflict no longer urges you to fawn or people please. Instead, each wound they inflict carves clarity into your soul. Every betrayal becomes a quiet line in the story you'll one day walk away from. A red line there is no returning from or to. And when you do walk away, it won't be with rage. It'll be with a calm that terrifies them. They'll wonder where your softness went, where your old, patient, quiet self went. You are still yourself. You just no longer give your softness to those whose hearts are hardened. You no longer want to learn from those who are ignorant. You no longer give your patience to those who never consider you. You no longer give your silence to those who take it as a sign to hurt you louder. So yes, let them fuck around and let them find out. Karma isn't coming for them. It's already within them. Their choices are the seeds. Their life will bear the fruit. I think I gave a pretty good explanation for this post beforehand, and I want it to sit with you however it sits with you. I want you to end this episode with feeling the power in making the decision to let people be who they want to be. Let them mess up the way they want to mess up. Let them try you and see what your integrity is going to say in return. Let them continue to treat you like you're stupid, like you don't know any better, like they don't care about your feelings. And instead of you this time responding with trying harder or with showing them that they could be better people, walk away. Don't do anything. Be a quiet storm in return, and the quietness is with you no longer trying so hard, and the storm is all of the past times when you should have said something but you didn't, when you should have stood up for yourself but you didn't, when you should have walked away but you didn't, and all of a sudden now they're facing the storm with no longer having access to you. Please share this episode with whoever you think it will help. Listen to it on repeat. Fall asleep listening to it so that you can wake up in the morning feeling like you are ready to just let them do whatever it is that they want to do. And you can decide to continue being the amazing person that you are, that no longer bleeds on people because of the pain they're putting you through. I hope these words helped you find healing beyond words. And until next time, have a wonderful day.